Oh, it's funny, right? The number one thing people buy after they buy a house, have we talked about this then a little bit?
Wait,
The number one thing people buy is a new car.
why?
I personally think it's this concept of I bought a big house. I spent a lot of money, a $400,000 house. I've opened my wallet, my bank accounts, my income to support this thing. All of a sudden, it's a little bit easier to open it up.
Welcome to Moment the Other Way, a podcast about your journey in finances. I'm your host, James. We have Wanda with us today. We're doing our final installment of our home buying series. This one's kind of looking at the closing costs and expected and unexpected spending after you buy the house. So let's kind of go into it. So Wanda, is there anything you want to add before we kind of go in deeper into closing costs? Because look, you're here. You got the house. It's there.
Woohoo! It's purchased.
What would you want to add in this moment before we kind of go deeper into closing costs?
So I kind of think this episode is about dotting the I and crossing the T, getting to the finish line. Here you are, aha, and exhaling.
You're here. It's been a long process probably for some people trying to get this house. And now you can start turning that house to a home. We've talked about this before about it's a place to put your stuff, but then once you've got it, you can start to nest into it.
Yeah.
So we're talking about closing. What do people need to know about what are closing costs, first of all?
Right. So this is right now you're at the close table. The close table is you're signing paperwork and you're getting ready to be done. So generally, right, if Americans spend around $400,000 on a house, thereabouts, it's somewhere around 3 to 6% that you need at that table to close. And so somewhere around $12,000 to $18,000, $20,000.
Jeez.
So yeah, so you want to think about that.
And that's outside of your down payment.
This is just closing costs, get all the titling done. Woo. And then there's going to be leftover taxes and homeowner association and all those additional fees associated with that or charges associated with that.
Why is there so many expenses and closing costs that people don't anticipate?
Because you forget that this is a big purchase. It's not as simple as I went to the bookstore and bought a book, but it's a piece of real estate, a piece of land. And so you've got, like I said, titling costs, and you've got the real estate costs, the banking costs, all the cast of characters that allow you to now be buying that home. So again, 3 to 6% for planning purposes. Working with your financial advisor, they would have said, hey, as we're planning and looking at buying the house, we're going to need about 3 to 6% of the value of the house. And then, we talk about the nesting, now then it's going to become your home. This is where this is where your life is going to evolve over the next few years, which is pretty exciting stuff. At the same time, though, quite practically, you're going to get in the house and you're going to be saying, that kitchen sink needs to get replaced because I don't really think it's deep enough. I don't like the way it looks, or that shower head is going to have to be fixed. And then there's going to be things that you're going to want to do to it to make it your home. Even coming into this home, right? I did not like the doorknobs. They were something that came back from the 70s, kind of a deco, weird, brassy thingy that I couldn't help but think of all the fingerprints that were in there, ingrained in there. So, I got rid of all those, right? That's not an economical thing necessarily to do. So there's all the things that you're going to want to do to make it a home. And then you're going to bring in your furniture. So, and I'm going through a process where I'm buying a house and then I'm thinking to myself, that old couch ain't going to work in that new, beautiful living room with the fireplace. You have to have
something that matches, right?
I know. So you're going to think, okay, I'm going to maybe need to update some of my furniture, right? Yeah. And how much is furniture cost going to be associated with that? Maybe the garden's not the way you like it. Maybe as you approach your front door, you don't like the bushes. I'm looking right now at my
landscaping,
condo. Yeah, I'm looking at my condo right now and thinking, I really don't like that scraggly bushes on the side there. So then you're going to start to think about things like, okay, I've got to fix some of this stuff to make it what I want it to be. One of the other things I think about is moving costs. Having moved a couple times.
Oh, yeah. Especially if you're moving farther away.
Even if you're moving nearby. So I know I have moved as a former military person. I've moved a few more times maybe than average. So I remember the first time I moved, I was in my 20s, and I thought, just a few boxes. I'll just empty my drawers. It's all good. Get a couple friends help me with my furniture.
Oh yeah, it's so easy.
You've done that before, right, James?
Yes, we said it was so easy, and it was not as easy as we thought it was.
It's easy. It's always a little bit more complicated, and then you really want to consider in terms of moving costs, not only, a local moving cost, but maybe a moving company that does this stuff professionally, because they're going to do it a lot more effectively without any more pains, like lower back. Ow, I hurt myself.
Well, I'll be honest. I mean, now that I'm married and have a child, going from the move that I went from grad school to where I am now, I was, by myself. I was just moving a bedroom, but you accumulate stuff.
And it's just not what's in the drawer, right? It's the stuff that's on top, your little knickknacks over here, and just all the stuff. And you think, oh, hey, it is more than just. And I don't know where that stuff comes from.
Yeah. Well, something that I think you've mentioned before, just in conversation, was that you expand to fit your space.
Yeah, it's a true statement. Yeah. So when I was in Europe, I think I lived in about 800 square feet house.
Oh, wow.
And it was perfect. I actually had a baby grand piano in there. Yeah,
whoa.
Right. Yeah, so I don't know if you knew I had one.
I did not. That's crazy.
That's going to fit in my new home very nicely.
Yes.
But, being in 800 square feet, you realize what's really important. What do I need? I need a couch to hang out with my friends. I need a table that I can have community with, and I need an efficient kitchen, right?
Yeah.
That's it. And then when I moved back to the States, and there was like 3,000 square feet, and I'm looking at my little bitty furniture. And next thing you know, right, I have 3,000 square feet of furniture.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you've accumulated.
You've accumulated, and you're like, oh, hey, that big old couch that I really now need, or the sectional with the recliners on the either end, or, with the cup holders. I really need that. And so all of a sudden you're expanding to fit your space. And so you want to be mindful that whatever space that you get, you're going to be expanding into it.
So knowing about this, like we have like this idea of expected costs that you're bringing in.
Yeah, and I even would start as I think about it. We'll talk about expected costs. Maybe you don't like the window treatments. Maybe you want blinds. Maybe you need shades. Maybe you want to paint the walls. Maybe that white color that they sell the house in, just not your thing, because this is going to be your home. Maybe you're going to make it blue, aqua. Nice,
yeah, we just redid the walls here. So.
I know. So all of that's true, and you want to get to it.
And soon to be a sign that says one went the other way right here.
Exactly. A beautiful paint job.
Why is there paint on my hand?
James, I hired a professional for that.
Peggy?
You played in the paint, but the professional did it.
Was it Peggy?
No, I would never do that to Peggy. So
okay.
This is it.
So you have the expected. What about unexpected? What do we see that people are not expecting to come across in this time after they buy a house?
Yeah, and unexpected costs are those things, and you should always get an inspector to look at everything, because they're going to try to find things that need repair, need fixed, so you can address them before you get to that close table.
Yeah.
Yet, even still, the inspector is going to say this, you're going to get all the things that need to get fixed to your mind. Maybe you get the seller to do some of the stuff. Maybe you do some of the stuff. You make the decision on the choice. But then you're going to move in, and then all of a sudden, there's going to be a leak behind the refrigerator. Or the HVAC system that they were doing construction, they kept it on because it was winter, and they kept it on, and it got all clogged up, and so you
got to deal with it.
Eek. Yeah. So those wouldn't be found in inspection necessarily, but those are things that as you move in and get settled, you're like, okay, I think that's gonna. I don't think I'm going to be able to live with the leak in the refrigerator, and you want to take care. That's to that point about 1 to 2% of the value of the house needed for maintenance costs for emergencies and anything that may or may not come up.
Or some electrician in the process of fixing one thing, oh my goodness, burns an outlet, or hey, who knows? Your hot water heater might just be toast.
Right. Right. Like even in this room right here, we did not have any overhead lights. Maybe you do want to have overhead lights, because clearly a house is going to be staged so that when you're looking at it, it's optimally looking everything. But then when you actually move in, you're going to be like, I kind of need an overhead light. I like that idea.
Yeah. So that's some unexpected things. What about non-home purchases that you see people buying after they buy a house?
Oh, it's funny, right? The number one thing people buy after they buy a house, have we talked about this then a little bit? The number one thing people buy is a new car.
Why?
I personally think it's this concept of, I bought a big house. I spent a lot of money, a $400,000 house. I've opened my wallet, my bank accounts, my income to support this thing. All of a sudden, it's a little bit easier to open it up, because look, the car's only going to cost $80,000 or $40,000.
That's such a small amount in the scheme of things.
I just bought a $400,000 house I can buy. And in fact, car dealers know this, by the way. So as soon as you move into the new house, you will notice that you get a lot of propaganda. Material regarding a new car, because they already know. And I think it's a behavioral thing. You've broken up like I said, you've broken up your investments, your savings. You're now then, oh, hey, I just spent, $400,000. What's 80,000? What the, that kind of thing.
Jeez, that's. I can see the appeal though, because you buy a house, you're like, new stage, new phase of my life. Should get a new car too, right?
Why not? But and again, that's why it's this idea. You're invested in your life. It's your life. You're going through it, and having a financial advisor allows you to say, "Hey, let me just step back. Is this really what I want?" Or as I'm looking at buying a house, let's look at the car situation. So proactively addressing it and saying, you're probably going to want, like I'm thinking, oh, hey, I'm buying a house right now. As you know, I'm buying a house, right? And I'm thinking, oh, well, look at my car. It's a 2012.
Probably going to get upgraded at some point.
Two things are going to happen. I'm no different. We all have the same kind of emotions, that stuff that comes out to us, right? And so I'm going to look and I'm going to say, I got a 2012 car, and median time, a financial advisor would tell me median time when the car's on the road is 12 years. I tell my families that all the time.
Yeah.
And so if I was talking to me as a client, I'd be saying to me, you're buying a house in general, the next purchase is going to be a car. So can we talk about the car in this process that you're buying the house and make sure that we're covering for both things that look like they're imminently in my future?
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Well, so question, you said bringing a financial advisor into this. Mm-hmm. What does it mean to have a financial advisor walk with you through the whole process of buying a home,
right,
from start to finish, as opposed to, hey, I talked to my financial advisor before I met with my realtor and my mortgage lender, but then I kind of didn't, we talked about it. We came up with a few numbers, but then I just went on with the whole rest of the process. What's it look like to actually have a financial advisor help walk with you to finish, to closing, to after the closing? What does that look like?
So I distinguish that financial advisor from the person who you're going in and basically an order taker. I'm going to buy a house, let me tell you, and then they're going to do something, versus a relationship with the person. The relationship is the thing that's going to say, not only do I want you to buy the house, I want you to have all the joys and the possibilities there. And so they will walk you through the whole process, not just the transaction, okay, make the decision and done, but the whole thing, because this is important. It's a big decision. It's a big step in life, and you're only going to probably do it 2 or 3 times in your life.
Yeah. Well, if you yourself ever want to have a consultation with a financial advisor to discuss buying a home, saving for retirement, whatever it may be, you can meet with Wanda. She's a certified financial planner, and you can find her at financesforreallife.com. The schedule appointment button is in the top right of the page. You can also follow our podcast, You're One Went the Other Way, on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Music. We post every 2 weeks. We hope to see you in the next episode.
Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA, SIPC. Investment advice offered through Finances for Real Life, a registered investment advisor and separate entity from LPL Financial. The opinions voiced in this podcast are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which strategies or investments may be suitable for you, consult the appropriate qualified professional prior to making a decision.